Some movie characters are memorable because they just can't stop yapping, while others end up leaving an impression without saying anything at all. So here are 6 silent movie characters who spoke up and owned the room, starting with the 7's deadliest killer next to Homelander, and probably Soldier Boy. And no, we're not talking about Black Noir 2. We're talking about the Black Noir, the one who casually walks into a heavily armed Syrian compound, takes out his soup target, and leaves like he just finished picking up groceries. The one Vought could send after literally anyone, if Homelander ever decides to take a day off of lasering people.
That information never sees the light of day, and I'll call off Black Noir.
All right, you got yourself a deal.
A cold and calculating assassin with no words to offer, which somehow makes him even scarier because your brain just assumes he's constantly thinking murderous ninja thoughts 24/7. But here's the thing, Black Noir did speak before, but it didn't really end well for him.
The mask lends a certain mystique.
Yo, mystique. People don't even know it's me under this thing. I gotta wear it just to get a cab.
In the boys' universe, speaking up isn't always the right choice. You see, Black Noir was the very first person who realized that Vought isn't exactly good. He was arguably one of the better people among the lineup of soups during Soldier Boy's time in Payback. But things did not end up well for him. Beating him up and giving him severe brain damage was some trippy Looney Tunes-esque visions alongside his peanut allergy. So yeah, Noir was just so good that the universe decided to nerf him to the ground.
It's okay. Bravery isn't having no fear. Bravery is having fear. But you do it anyway.
Unfortunately, against the evil of Vought International, it didn't really go well for our superhero assassin, leaving him unable to speak for the entirety of the show. Unlike Caesar from the Planet of the Apes trilogy, who basically led a revolution to save his species from the tyrannical hands of humanity. But before he was the leader of his people, he wasn't always the outspoken kind. After being Monkey Nap, he was left to find new meaning with his community of simian friends. He met apes like Maurice and Koba, who were instrumental to the apes' newfound freedom. It wasn't until abusive animal caretaker Dodge Landon sprayed water and electrocuted his friends that Caesar simply had to express his feelings out loud.
Take your stinking paw off me, you damn dirty ape!
And that's where everything changed, because Caesar finally spoke. He saved his species and went on to have a party on the Golden Gate, causing a massive ruckus. All so they could find themselves a new home in the forest, free from human control. It was at this moment that his dad, Will Rodman, found him again. And thus came Caesar's first grammatically correct sentence.
Caesar is home.
Fast forward to a few box office hits, and Caesar easily becomes the leader of their tribe, acting as the middleman between humanity and their band of punk rock apes, until Koba decides he wants to do things his own way. After Koba's betrayal, Caesar had no choice but to face him. Then the two went into a classic ape versus ape cage match, until Dreyfus blew up the entire building, sending them both flying off of the edge, with Koba begging Caesar to save him from falling. Unfortunately for Koba, his manipulation tactics didn't work on the iconic Caesar.
You are not ape.
I bet that one really hurt, huh, Koba? But while Caesar spoke up to become the most aura-maxed ape out there, Bumblebee from Transformers broke his silence for a wholesome request. If you've been a huge fan of Transformers since the 80s, then you already know that Bumblebee can actually talk, but it all depends on whether or not his voice box is damaged. However, in the Transformers films, he didn't have that luxury. Instead, he communicates with Sam and Michaela using nothing but Twitch soundboards and audio clips from existing media.
Well, do you speak robot? Because they just had like a giant droid death match.
I think it wants something from me.
What?
Honestly, I can't blame her. And Sam isn't exactly giving me Robot Whisperer vibes here. But anyway, throughout the entire movie, Optimus Prime is the only Autobot who really talks a lot, giving orders, making speeches, and basically having Linkin Park playing in the background the whole time. But it isn't until the very end of the movie, after the Decepticons are taken down, that Bumblebee finally decides to speak.
Permission to speak, sir. Permission granted, old friend.
You speak now?
I wish to stay with the boy.
It was the moment everyone realized that Bumblebee always had the voice to speak, but chose to save it for the game's final moments. For dramatic effect. Bravo, Michael Bay. In later movies, he barely speaks at all unless it's for very climactic moments. Like in The Last Knight, after getting bodied by a mind-controlled Optimus Prime.
I am Bumblebee, your oldest friend. Optimus, I would lay down my life for you.
Safe to say, evil Optimus broke free from the spell and went back to his normal self. No one really knows what made his voice return, but some theorists think all the heavy beating somehow fixed it in the process. Others say it was pure emotional release. Or maybe it was just because of Mark Wahlberg. In any case, Bumblebee clearly chooses his moments to speak up, unlike Kimiko from The Boys, who was forced to say her final words. Everyone knows this immortal Japanese lady who can butcher people on such short notice.
You're not a bad person. Just a scared one.
It wasn't until Kimiko found comfort with Frenchie that she finally softened up. But even then, she barely says anything outside of the group's mandatory ASL lessons. Yet despite her silence, she's still an unkillable loudmouth through sign language alone. She even beat the hell out of Vought's notorious neo-Nazi using nothing but pure rage. However, there was one specific moment where Kimiko finally opened up, and it came from sheer emotional pain. After Gen 5 characters, Sam and Kate, kidnapped both Frenchie and Kimiko at the end of Season 4, Frenchie was mind-controlled by Kate, barely able to resist their capture. It was then that Kimiko, a character widely known for barely speaking after years of trauma, found a reason to use her voice again, but only for Frenchie and the pain of possibly losing him. It was a deeply emotional moment in The Boys, but for us viewers, it felt like a collective emotional release that had been building up years, and it hit hard.
Can we go? Oh, wow. Your skin is so oily, like hugging a McRib.
Did you just... How?
Speech therapy and therapy and so much
TikTok.
And then things went downhill for a while, especially in the show's final season, where Kimiko suddenly doesn't know how to shut her mouth. Once she realized she could finally speak, and apparently went through 100 TikTok language lessons overnight, she turned into The Boys' raunchiest character, mostly because of the non-stop adult jokes. It wasn't the best shift from her, but hey, she was a huge help in taking down Homelander and living her best days in Paris. Not even the City of Light, however, could get a peep out of Ansel Elgort's baby from Baby Driver, who is definitely one of those movie characters you thought had total NPC behavior, only to be proven wrong when they eventually show their skills. You see, he's not exactly a silent character in the general sense. He just doesn't want to talk too much, for multiple reasons, like his tinnitus condition, as well as using silence as a coping mechanism, which is why he loves music. Boy, does he love it. Baby feels so out of place compared to his crime boss buddies, played by Jon Bernthal, Jon Hamm, and Kevin Spacey. He's so nonchalant during every heist they pull that Jon Bernthal's character even tries to piss him off.
So you don't think that there's something wrong with him just not saying anything?
There's nothing wrong with a little quiet.
Safe to say, Baby's not the type to feel intimidated by anything, even when Griff constantly bullies him, calling him slow and throwing around the kinds of insults and slurs that you'd usually hear in a COD lobby.
Not without being a little criminal. I just want to find out what's going on between those ears, aside, of course, from Egyptian reggae.
So now you're wondering, how would you make Baby talk? Well, you have to make him fall in love with you, which is exactly what happened to him. He only opens up to people who genuinely care about him.
So what is it you do?
I'm a driver.
Oh, like a chauffeur. You drive around important people.
I guess I do.
Anyone I'd know?
I hope not.
Well, aren't you mysterious?
Maybe.
This is the moment where Baby maxes out his Riz stat and uses all of his energy trying to flirt with her. It's like watching a massive energy cannon charge up to 120%. And somehow, it works. Throughout the entire film, he finds comfort in Deborah's character, eventually going above and beyond to protect her from his life of crime. Well, we have one other silent character that everyone absolutely adores, and that's Little Miss Wolverine from Logan, or just Laura for short. She's like that one middle school kid sitting in the back alone, not talking, just silently judging you when you make a mistake. And she has claws coming out of her arms, of course.
No. No. Move! Go!
Stop shooting! She
skills.
She's essentially a mini Logan. Both characters start off as the silent type, never really mincing words, and it's not until they find each other that Laura slowly begins to open up.
I don't know how you got me here, but, thank you.
De nada.
Yeah. You can talk? You can talk? Well, why the fuck? What's all this bullshit been for the last 2,000 fucking miles?
And that's how their buddy-buddy adventure started. It's basically a Joel and Ellie situation from The Last of Us, but apart from the survival, both characters slowly learn to get past the skill issue that is language, and eventually forge a deep and meaningful bond throughout the movie, right up until Logan's bittersweet ending. Who am I kidding? Just kidding, Marvel brought him back in Deadpool, but that's not even the best part. Their eventual reunion with Laura a few timelines later feels really nostalgic, and this time around, Laura can speak English.
You remind me of him. Angry, drunk, mean.
Sounds like a great guy.
Wasn't finished. Showed up when it mattered the most. Couldn't help it. You might not know it, but you're a good man, Logan.
The Laura we see is older, wiser, and still misses her version of Logan, which makes their reunion surprisingly emotional. Like, emotional enough to make grown men, including me, cry. But despite all that sadness, both characters still get their own version of a happy ending. They can finally talk to each other without needing Duolingo. That everything falls back into place, making Laura's confession yet another memorable example of a silent character opening up.